A long time ago in 2011, I was in the 6th grade. Me and a friend got into an argument about Mario and Sonic. I forget how it began. I knew a bit about Sonic the Hedgehog thanks to endless bashing on the internet, but I knew way more about Mario just because I grew up with him. But no matter what I hit him with, he always countered with, "Yeah, but Sonic is faster than Mario." He refused to budge, and I can only wonder why. I decided to compromise and promised him I would try one out once so I had the cash. Little did he know, my parents bought me very little games when I was a kid. Little did I know, on a weekend trip to Best Buy, I chanced upon an Xbox 360 demo of Sonic Generations. I gave it a shot, and thought it was pretty sick. I then bought it and played it. 10 years later on PC, again I was a kid, I couldn't afford an Xbox 360. Nintendo, however, let me play Generations on 3DS about a year later. While not the same, I found myself finishing it, something I tended to normally never do when I was young. Something I still kind of struggle with now. My last video with Final Fantasy IV was something that took me a year of playing on and off. Not necessarily due to its qualities, it didn't hold my attention. Generations on 3DS, however, was different. Stages divided by acts, split between two characters, short yet gripping. But had I known most Sonic games are typically short, quick bursts of adrenaline, I would have started playing these games sooner. Only recently did I finally decide to give Sonic Adventure, the first of these mainline games, a shot. I'm not counting 3D Blast because not even Sega recognizes it as a Sonic game, so I'm gonna just follow suit. Something to mention before I begin. Firstly, I'm playing the Steam version, Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. Secondly, you may have noticed that I've decided to use some mods to revamp some changes this version made. I saw Cybershell's comparison between the two versions and almost immediately sprung for the mod pack, links in the description. Now, if you think that playing a mod version of the game upon one's first playthrough may make for a somewhat tainted game review as I won't be able to touch upon all the game's faults, you'd be right. But remember, I don't review games. I make general observations upon my first playthrough of a title, and then identify what my reactions of said playthrough means. What do I personally value in games is the big question this channel is meant to answer. Not whether or not I would recommend it to others and give it the IGN number. After all, video games are art. How the hell do you grade art? All you can really do is identify what it means to you and try to identify what the creators sought to achieve. And besides, me installing these mods have already addressed that question. I value consistent art styles over raw technical prowess. More polygons doesn't mean much if said polygons have a face for radio. Anyways, let's talk about the story. A long-ass time ago, there was a guardian, and their name was Chaos. Chaos guarded the Chaos Emeralds, the Master Emerald, as well as a small colony of Chao. There was also the Knuckles clan, a tribe of once peaceful echidna turned into warriors under its newfound leader, Pacamac, or Pac-Man. His new style of leading, warmongering, allowed the Knuckles clan to rapidly conquer and claim territory, until they met with Chaos. The echidna slaughtered the Chao, unleashing the rage of Chaos. Tikal, Pac-Man's daughter, uses the spiritual teachings of her grandmother, sealing both herself as well as Chaos in the Master Emerald. In order to prevent the release of Chaos as well as another Pac-Man from happening, the Knuckles clan creates Angel Island, the new home of the Master Emerald. The Knuckles clan, however, would eventually fall and die out until the events of the game beginning with its final member, Knuckles the Echidna. One day, Chaos breaks out from the Emerald, both freeing itself as well as Tikal. Chaos links up with Dr. Eggman in an attempt to obtain the Chaos Emeralds and achieve its perfect form. Eggman, believing he can control Chaos to help wipe out Station Square and create Eggman Land, obtains the Emeralds. All the while, Tikal helps Sonic and company along their journeys in an attempt to thwart Eggman and by proxy Chaos. After Eggman's plans fall through, Chaos goes rogue and takes the Emeralds for themselves, obliterating Station Square by flooding it. And while all hope seems lost, it's revealed that Chaos only uses the Emerald's negative energy, and that Sonic's positive energy via Super Sonic can help balance and pacify Chaos. They do battle, Chaos is pacified, and both he and Tikal are free to pass on. Alright, so I've skipped over a fair bit, like Tails learning to leave Sonic Shadow as well as the entirety of E102 Gamma, but I wanted to give kudos to the main plot of the game, as well as just like laying it out in a linear order. This game's main story is told almost entirely in flashbacks. You'll be fishing, trying to get your frog back when all of a sudden, BANG! I think it would have been a bit more interesting if there was a section where you could play as Tikal. I get part of the appeal is the mystery that the game plays up, but I wonder if this is the best it could have been. But how do you experience a story? Well, it's split between 6 characters in a final story segment, so let's talk about them. This campaign feels like a regular Sonic adventure. Ugh. So you start off chilling, and then you're off going through levels trying to beat Eggman. Sonic is all about getting to the end of the level by running as fast as he can, and thanks to his new little trick, the homing attack, Sonic can now lock onto enemies and slam right into them. He's fun to play as, but thanks to how the level is sometimes just designed, he can be a bit frustrating. Going fast feels great in this game, but sometimes you just don't. Whenever I'm going fast and I'm just halted in my tracks, I feel like I've been completely blueballed. Other times, shit just refuses to work. Why can't I home in here? Why am I slowing down now? Why am I flying this stupid fucking plane? This is the worst part of the game. Why so many things? When Sonic's part hits, it hits. And when it doesn't, you're acutely aware. It doesn't exactly help that he has so many levels compared to the rest of the cast. You feel his fuck-ups harder because it's able to occur far more frequently. All of this, however, can be offset by the fact that this game really isn't all that hard. Sure, some parts are kinda fucking stupid, but I'm talking broadly. I would have loved this game as a kid. Sonic's campaign isn't bad. I would have quit if it were, but it does leave some things to be desired. Tails is fun as hell, except for those dumb fucking plane levels. You're racing Sonic to the finish line, your homing attack is replaced by the ability to fly, and these rings allow you to boost through super quick. You would think a game mode where the whole point is to race would belong to, you know, the character whose most identifying trait is being fast. Whatever. Sand Hill is cool to break up the levels and almost feels like an apology for those plane levels. These levels were fun. Would play again. Rather than reaching a simple goal, Knuckles needs to reassemble the Master Emerald and is hunting for the broken shards. You have to scout out the level and find all 3 pieces with the help of your trusty radar to finish. Rather than going through the entire length of a Sonic level, however, you are contained to just one small area. Thank fuck. Knuckles uses his dreadlocks to glide? What? And the spikes of his gloves to climb any surface. These levels are fun. Until they aren't. I spent so long not realizing I could just bust that statue in Casinopolis. Overall, it's fun to shrink the scale in a game where you're mostly blazing through as fast as possible. It's a welcome break from the constant adrenaline. This is no longer Sonic Adventure. We are now playing Resident Evil 2, complete with puzzles. We have to run away from Zero like he's Mr. X, and at the end of the stage is an escape balloon you have to grab on to win. This honestly could have been an entire game by itself, and it's only like 3 levels. Also, Amy's hammer bounce is real cool. W character. Ah, Big. The character that everybody seems to hate. He's dopey.
Froggy, is that you? You're looking kinda weird, good buddy.
Has a goofy voice.
Oh, he's got my little buddy. Whoa! Ooh. Glad I found you.
And his playstyle isn't about platforming. It's a mandatory fishing minigame that blocks story progression. Once you learn how the fishing works, however, this campaign is easy. I grew up watching so many people just hating on Big, and I thought I would too. But he's a joke character. How could anyone hate this silly little goober? Look at him, he's just vibing. His stages aren't even difficult, just fish 4 times and you win. Easy game, easy life. Gamma, by far, has the best campaign. It's mostly separated from the main story. It's just a robot learning to think for itself, realizing that both it and its brothers are creations manufactured for the sole purpose of causing the suffering of others. It goes on a mission to purge both them and then itself. Gamma was an altruist, through and through. W Robot. Okay, so these cutscenes look weird.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah! Tails! Now, what am I gonna do with you?
Even back then, they looked weird. This shit came out in 1999, when we had stuff like Silent Hill 1, Tomb Raider 4, and Legacy of Kain. Yeah, these cutscenes are weird. You know what else these cutscenes are? Full of heart. You can tell they were made unapologetically, even if they do look and sound kinda silly. But people always wonder why the hell there's a shower in the casino. You play the pinball, then you fuck up and you're dropped into the sewers. Then, once you escape, you pop up in the showers where you can clean yourself off and then head back into the level. Yeah, sure, the transition into 3D wasn't as sharp as can be, but you can say that about so many other games as well. For example, Mario 64 is a great game. It's not perfect. The camera is clunky. The level design leaves something to be desired sometimes. Getting stars and then having to drop back in is a problem that stuck around until Odyssey. How many of you are currently repressing all those times that you fell down a TikTok clock? Do not lie to me. Does any of that make Mario 64 a bad game? No, I don't think having a few issues is enough to cement your legacy in shit. And I don't think it's any different with Sonic Adventure. Death by 1,000 cuts, this ain't. At least Sonic had the guts to try and adapt fast platforming and blazing through a large space in a short amount of time, especially in an era where maps could only be so big. You could only have so many maps, so having multiple characters where you explore parts of the map Sonic may just blaze past feels like a smart usage of one's restrictions. Sure, some things fell by the wayside, like some bugs, questionable hit detection, and how I tend to get snagged on parts of the level what feels like all the time. But what I think is good personally makes up for it to an extent. I really don't know why there's so much discourse about whether or not the game where you play as a gaggle of furries is absolute perfection or complete dog shit. It's got some good and it's got some bad. I think I have a theory as to why I feel really forgiving towards this game. Today, most modern single-player games, mainly PlayStation, feel and look pretty similar. Stop me if you've heard this one before. An over-the-shoulder third-person game, cinematic presentation, realistic graphics, that part where we gotta hide the loading screen where you have your character squeeze into a narrow gap, even if said character can bench press a city and wipe that part out no problem, and the part where you're forced to walk real slow so we can have a really cinematic moment. Am I saying these games are bad? No, not necessarily. But because these games tend to share so many elements with one another, they tend to blend together and the experiences feel less distinct from one another. I can appreciate Sonic Adventure for being a welcome change of pace from the modern monotony of the current AAA meta. Well, I guess the AAA meta is cramming predatory business practices into everything and firing your workforce to make your quarterly reports look cool. But you know what I mean. I got impatient with hatching the eggs and left. If I wanted to take care of virtual creatures, I'd play Pokemon. Some parts of this game I'm not too sure where to go, but checking what to call in some exploration just really goes a long way. I know that did you try walking around the whole city? The thing got infamous, but Station Square is like 5-6 rooms, just not much to get lost in. I learned, if a game has major issues, the longer it is, the more prevalent those issues will be. Short games can be gratifying to play. Unique experiences tend to stand out amongst cookie-cutter experiences. And lastly, games don't need to be perfect, but they should be fun.